and young adults, and welcome to our first ever young adult book club. Okay, now I have some special guests here, and we are going to be going through Pastor Levi's newest book, Blessed Are the Spiraling, and we're so excited for you to dig in. But first, I want to introduce who we're going to be going through this journey with. We have here some friends you guys know and love already. Pastor Jesus, our e-groups pastor.
What's going on, everyone?
We also have Pastor Sam Hernandez, our young adult pastor. But guys, I know the surprise is here, but do you know who else we have?
Oh my goodness.
What is a book club without the author of the book?
Period. What a flex.
So glad.
We have Pastor Levi Lusko here.
So much love.
Amazing. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
For sure.
Now, I feel like it's always kind of like, I know that you come across the type of person that would hate that I'm going to do this, but this right here, this is already an incredible author of several books.
Yes.
I mean, my son also has one of your books.
That
by the way.
is amazing.
He does, and he loves it. And
Which one does he have, Roar or Marvel?
Roar.
Okay.
He has Roar.
Yeah.
So he has children's book, adult books, whatever you need.
Yeah,
he's got you.
everything you need.
He pastors an incredible church in Montana, Fresh Life Church. Right. And then, I mean, also, if you've been around, you know Pastor Levi, you love him. He is not just an author or a pastor that is a few states away, but also he's a friend, family of this house.
That's right.
And so we're so honored to have you.
Yes.
you.
So excited to go through this book with you.
Well, it means the world that you guys would let me be a part of this. I love this house. Jenny and I were thinking this morning, we've been coming to Elevation Church since 2011, but tracking with the church since 2008. And so, I mean, literally a year into our church, we discovered Elevation. A friend sent me the link, and I watched probably that night 20 Pastor Stephen sermons.
Wow.
And I literally, my thought was, I have a brother I don't even know about we're cut from the same cloth. Like I was like, there's someone who gets me. Most of my mentors were older.
Sure.
And so discover like a slightly older brother. It just, and then as soon as we met and became friends, we just fell in love with the spirit of this house, the strength, the grit, the audacity, the sun stand still of it all. Hello, somebody.
Come on.
And I'm literally reading Sun Stand Still for the first time. I was like, I feel the courage to write my own book because he's found his voice and playing it loud, you know, and all that. And so it just means the world to be here.
Oh, Pastor Levi, thank you so much for
so
sharing
sweet.
that.
I mean, and I got two code oranges under my belt. I got greater leader. I mean, we were at the recording for Here Is in Heaven. Our first time we ever come into a service was in Matthews campus in the original OG Mr. and Mrs. Better Half series.
Yes.
So yeah,
Talk about it.
and Daisy still gets letters from eKids from that one visit when she was 2 years old. I'm not joking. Every year she gets a birthday note from Elevation from having been checked in that first time.
That's crazy.
Which is
I
wild.
actually love that. Shout out to anyone serving the
Yeah.
e-kids.
So get on a team, serve, you're changing lives, even in
go.
Montana.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, Pastor Levi, we're so excited to have you here. And really, we have all read your book. And so,
So good.
and I know that you're reading it. And spoiler alert, here's the deal. We've already started reading the book. So if you're here, we today are going to talk about the intro and chapters 1 and 2. But if you have not read the book, don't go anywhere. It's okay. Stay here. Get these principles, get these truths, because we really believe that this book is going to be so helpful to you. So don't go anywhere. And even if you get a little bit behind on your reading, still show up to group, still show up to club, because there's going to be something there for you. But we want to jump right in. Okay.
They can Audible 2X it too. You know what I mean? They just got to
pro
get on
tips,
there.
Right.
pro tips,
Yeah.
pro tips. Okay. Can we jump right in?
For sure.
I just want to start with like when I just saw it, first of all, this cover is incredible. But the word spiraling, that is like obviously the theme throughout the whole book. Can you break down, just start by giving everyone the introductory level of what do you mean when you write this? Because we thought, oh, well, we might all have our own definitions of this.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Because I want people, before we even talk about it, to be able to find themselves in it.
Yeah. I think we all know the feeling, even if we don't have language for it. It's that sense of I'm going down. You know, I've got in my Jeep. I had a couple pieces that wore down just from misuse or extended use, and I had a wobble driving down the road that felt like it was going to throw me off. And I think that's what it feels like. The spiral. It just feels like I'm going down the road. Things are normally great, but all of a sudden things aren't bringing me joy. They brought me joy before.
Sure.
I don't feel like I'm myself.
Wow.
And I don't know how I'm going to get out of this situation.
Yeah. I mean, even like that wobble, like that's a very interesting, because that's really how it feels like. It starts off kind of slight.
But then it gets more
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah.
You know what? When
Yeah.
I called the car dealership to get it scheduled to fix, you know what they said?
What?
Sounds like you got a death wobble.
Oh,
That's what they said to me.
Okay.
And so I know a death wobble because I guess it can throw the truck over if he doesn't get taken care of at high speed.
Oh, okay.
So then when I called them to get it fixed, they said this. They said it was just 3 things that no one thing would have taken you out, but the 3 things being worn down together have caused this to happen. And I feel like that's a lot like life.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to talk about this right here because there's something that you also said that connects to what you just said here in right at the beginning. And I love not just what you said, but when you said it in the book, because I felt like it gave us permission. You said it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It could be a good thing you were looking forward to, a graduation, a promotion, or a retirement. This hit very timely for me. My daughter is starting kindergarten this year. It's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
But in some ways can get you spiraling out of control. I've already spiraled out of control a couple of times just thinking about this. But I thought even that concept itself was so helpful and it gave me permission. I've found that even for me sometimes, I don't even realize that I'm spiraling because it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Do you feel like sometimes for people, do we even notice, like, oh, am I wobbling right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it hard to catch this
It
spiral?
starts imperceptible, and if not addressed, it's where it can lead to. That's the problem. So for your exact case, I think part of it, your brain feels like, I don't feel like I should be sad. I should be happy.
Right.
I should feel this.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
and some part of you should, but you're not ready to move into the season of your daughter in kindergarten properly until you mourn the end of her first 5 years.
Interesting.
And that's hard because it's hard for us to not stay there. We want somehow to simultaneously move into what's next, but also have what was past.
Right.
And so like you're missing her as a baby. You're missing her as the 2-year-old, losing her first tooth or whatever it is. Right. And so then you feel like I shouldn't feel sad about this. And that only perpetuates, I think, the wobble.
Right. Because then I feel guilty for spiraling because it is something that I should be. Yeah, I mean, you said
and you're probably feeling guilty of maybe like things you missed, moments you missed. Like were you present the way you should have been? So you're rethinking it all, and I think it brings on these existential crises. And the thing that's interesting is blessings and burdens are both heavy, so they're both easily mistaken for each other.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. You mentioned something about that in the book, and I think this is a good time to go ahead because in chapter 1. You start talking about a little bit, like making it practical, like how you've navigated this a little bit in your life. And for those of you with the book on page 3, so we're fresh in here, you're describing the spiral, where did this come from? Tumble. Like, why is this happening? Tumble. How will I survive this? Tumble. And then you go on to say, instead you must slow down and stare down what is actually going on. And you're like, so I did. And then you begin to share all these things that you did. Like I saw a doctor, I saw a counselor, I started meeting with a psychologist, and you went on and on and on. But what I noticed is that you didn't just do one thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us will give up if one thing I feel like doesn't work for us.
Right.
So I want this to be able to help somebody. And so I'm like, what does that look like? Because in my life, my prior, like before I worked at the church, a lot of our groups will know I was a nurse. I worked ICU nursing and I did trauma. And when there's a code or when someone's going down, you don't just do one thing. You throw everything you got at it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you kind of narrow your strategy, right? Like that's kind of how he did it. And so when I read this, I so related to this, but I think it's a missed art. And so when you talk about this, I think a lot of people will give up prematurely. And so I just was wondering what you would say to that person that's trying that one thing that's not working, or because again, you did a lot of things that helped you.
Yeah.
So what was that process like for you?
Diagnostics is what you're talking about. Like we're just trying to diagnose this. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think that's when a lot of us are tempted to turn the radio up and decide, well, I just won't drive over 45 anymore.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I'm just going to embrace dysfunction.
My Lord.
Right?
Wow.
And just say, hey, this is what life's going to be like. Or I'm going to do what I can to numb, to cope. And then I'm just going to dim my vision of what life was going to be like. And so I think
my goodness.
it's a lot easier just to put the hood back down and just go, okay, I won't drive fast again. You know what I mean? Life's just going to be life, right? And then you can eventually get so blind to the dysfunction you've tolerated that it becomes your view of how life is going to be.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where disillusionment comes in. That's where you can eventually grow jaded, you know, and just accept a less than. So, but it's the hard work because I don't know what's actually causing it.
Right.
And oftentimes opening it up and diagnosing it is going to make it worse before it gets better.
Oof.
And you got to take some things offline.
Right.
Wow.
But that's the only way to actually move forward to the full range of motion you're meant to have.
The thought that you would limit yourself and compromise to something because we're not willing to do the hard work. Rightfully so sometimes. You talk about this concept a little bit too on page 5. I have it highlighted here because it really stuck out to me. You were talking about, or you started talking about like the stairs a little bit. You said we rise and then our path flattens.
Yeah.
And it is seemingly stagnant for a season. And then another growth spurt surges, followed by a flat line, then another up. And the line looks more like stairs. And so what was interesting to me, though, if I go back to like the ICU nursing, and what I feel like you were communicating here in a way is like in the ICU, people are really sick. And so they'll be getting better. And then they'll have like a setback or something that is like not maybe what you want to hear. And the family is like, oh, my goodness. And then you're like, hold up. Like, they're no longer in the territory where we're having to like restart their heart. This is great progress. Yeah. It's okay. This is normal. Like, you know, it's not always straight up. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there are like moments where like we're going to keep progressing. So for people in their life, because honestly, my personality type is a perfectionist, so I'm selfishly wanting you to help me right now.
Right.
Whenever you hit those like, y'all stop. You shouted a little too loud at that.
Yeah, you're right.
Whenever I hit those kind of like stagnant spaces or almost like it feels like I'm regressing a little bit, I lose sight of like the big progress. Like how would you help someone like me?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I just think understanding the nature of growth helped me out a lot because I felt like I had hit a wall when I'm like, when I talk about spiraling, I'm talking about the specific spiral that this book is referencing, a 2-year-long period, which is how long it took for me to come out of that season.
Wow.
2 whole years. And then that season buttoned up, and then I felt enough growth to begin to collect the lessons I had learned.
Wow.
And then began 2 years of actually putting it into book form.
Yeah.
So this is a 4-year period of life. So it's not going to be quick. And I think we all wish it could be quick, you know, but you don't break things down fast and you don't heal them fast. You know, like crisis is an event, healing's this journey. And skin grows slowly. And I think we're uncomfortable with that. But it also means like the growth journey, my counselor was telling me, he's like, you feel like you've hit a wall. What if it's actually a stair?
Yes.
And it hurts to run headlong into a wall, but all growth happens with us going as long as we can in that growth mode. Then we smack into the wall. Now we have to catalyze into a development.
Right.
You know, so it's that means it's not bad that you're not broken. You're not, something's not wrong. Something's gone right.
It's so helpful.
All right. So you mentioned even this period of 2 years that it took of you spiraling that led to you writing this book. You know, you're someone that we would say like, this is a great man of faith, someone that we respect and we honor, you know, the ministry that you've been doing for a long time. We wouldn't necessarily, at least for me, I wouldn't as Pastor Levi spiraling for, like, no way.
Yeah.
But it's the same way as John the Baptist, even like that example that you put on page 12, it's where you got the title for the book in Matthew 11:11. When I think about John the Baptist, this is the guy like prepared the way, and yet here he is spiraling. Can you kind of unpack a little bit? Because I thought that was so powerful. How Jesus viewed him in that season, in that moment of spiraling.
Yeah, I love this Beth Moore quote. She said, "Be careful who you covet." Right? Because we're all broken. We're all, you know, susceptible. So any hero, anybody we'd admire, put on a pedestal, they're people too, right? Worthy of honor in many cases, but people. So John the Baptist, who passed the incredible test of, growing up in the wilderness, like he was told, he Nazirite vow, one of 2 people in the Bible we know took that Nazirite vow, but then also successfully handled his ministry withering. Think about being the hottest thing on the market, okay? Oh Everyone's going to hear him. He's like a one-man Coachella, out in the desert, eating weird, just strange, right?
Right.
That's his thing. And then all of a sudden, the crowds all leave him because they all start following Jesus.
Wow.
Even his own disciples are like, dude, we need to do something to pop off again. Like, what can we do, right? And he goes, no, he must increase, I must decrease. This was always the plan. But then he gets in prison, and this man who can't be shaken gets shaken. And he writes to his cousin and says, are you really the Messiah, or should we try and find someone else? Right? He's spiraling. And what does Jesus write back? He writes back, blessed is he who's not offended on behalf of me. He's spiraling, and Jesus calls him blessed. So my question is it possible that when we're spiraling, if we could listen to God's whisper, he's saying, you're blessed?
Wow. I think that like the perfect way to kind of wrap up this week, because we're going to land in chapter 2, where you talk about from death to resurrection. Oof. And honestly, to me, like, I love so many of these chapters. This has got to be like top 3 for me, because it was very reformative in how I even view what I would call failure.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, well, first of all, your kids are so funny. This is not my question, but I love your thing where you're like, it'll be down, down, down. And
Oh, Olivia, yeah. There's some funny kid moments, like Lennox losing his tooth and shouting puberty, puberty, puberty,
Yes,
you know?
Yeah.
But not all of us are so excited about transition, you know?
yeah,
Right.
it's
But yeah,
so
Olivia,
funny.
a bunch of people had left our church, and quite a few staff members in a very concentrated period of time, which happens.
Yeah.
Some of it good, some of it hard, all of it hard, some of it bad, right?
Yeah,
Some leave well, some leave poorly. It is what it is.
Right.
And in a season where she goes, "Oh, where's so and so? I haven't seen the staff member." I was like, you live. You know, she was 3 or 2 or 3. I go, he's the Lord moved him on to a different. She goes, "What about so and so? Didn't he just recently quit?" And I go, yeah, also he just left. And then she goes, "But didn't?" And then she made name one more. And I go, "Yeah, they've all." And like now I'm panicking, you know, like and I'm driving down the road. And she goes, "Dad," if this keeps happening, she's 3. I go, "What, Liv?" And she goes, "It'll be down, down, down into the bricks." And now I'm in a full-blown existential crisis. I'm like, "You're right." And then we laughed so hard. We tears streaming down our faces.
Yeah.
And so now in our family, whenever a bunch of things happen, we always go to each other. If this keeps up,
Right.
it'll be, and then it'll be down, down,
Right,
down
right.
into the bricks.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. We fall into his grace. We fall into his arms.
Right.
We're not
So
falling into the bricks. We're falling into a death that leads to resurrection. Because in God's kingdom, down is up, and
Correct.
and losing is finding. And so
Yes.
the further we feel like we're falling, the more we get to learn of His love.
Yeah.
Yeah, so beautiful. I mean, I think that one of the things that I'd like to wrap up with is this concept that you had here, where you talked about Tiger Woods.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The 10 steps of failure.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's page 21 if you'd like to
Yep.
know.
Yep.
And you talked about exactly what you said, like the steps where he gives himself like a limit to how long he'll sit in his pity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he moves on because he needs to focus now on the next shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This to me is a discipline that would help so many of us. There are, if y'all gonna be real, because y'all know we're in group and I want you to keep it real. There are some of us that are holding on to things from when we were still kids.
Yeah.
That has held us back. And so could you talk, just like encourage us as we wrap up today on like this concept? Because I think that there's somebody that's joining us right now that needs to figure out how to like end this season, this step, this thing
Right.
that you're clinging on to,
Yeah.
so that you can move forward into what God has
I
for
think
you.
there's 2 ingredients. Number 1 is be willing to take your 10 steps. Right? So take your 10 steps.
Okay.
Be sad. Allow yourself to lament,
Yeah.
mourn, and weep. Like,
Okay, yeah.
don't try and go, "Okay, it's okay. I'm going to get the next one." No, say,
Yeah.
"Man, for 10 steps," he says, "that shot sucked. I suck. I'm, whatever it is."
Yeah.
For 10 steps, he allows himself
Right.
to feel the pain of the moment, but then he puts it behind him.
Yeah.
And it etch a sketch gets shake
Ooh,
clean,
that's good.
That's so
and we're
helpful.
taking a step forward. And both are important.
Right.
Fantastic.
Incredible. Be willing
Yes.
and then set a limit.
Yes.
I love it. Okay. Well, hey guys, obviously we could keep talking about this for forever, but I feel like we've given you enough to continue on, have your conversations, because we want you to make this very practical for you. So you're going to leave here. We're going to discuss. You're going to go to your leaders in whatever space you're in, and we're going to see you back here next week.
Yep.